Yawa.
Next week is Parliament as we take the national anthem. Good morning,
gentlemen of the press. Good morning. The briefing today, let me just reiterate two things. We all know that we have the corona pandemic raging right now. But at the same time, there's another pandemic, that is the climate change issue. It's also a very serious and important issue. But the pandemic is what we are really witnessing live right now. But that doesn't mean climate change is also not raging behind the scenes. So we'll be focusing on these two items and emphasize on the second wave of the corona pandemic that is currently raging across the country. Distinguished gentlemen of the press, I welcome you to this important press briefing. It is organized to brief you and the nation that the President, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, Federal Republic of Nigeria, Muhammadu Buhari, has graciously approved the establishment of 10 additional national parks, bringing the total of number of national parks in the country to 17. I will also brief you on the effort of the ministry in the control of the second wave of the coronavirus pandemic. The details of the new national parks are as follows. First, I will mention the old name of the area and then the current national park designation of that particular area. Number one is the Alawa Game Reserve, which is now Alawa National Park. It's in Niger State and is 310 square kilometers. And then the Akoy Forest Reserve, which is now Akoy National Park in Bayelsa, 64.7 kilometers square. The Edumenum Forest Reserve, which is now Edumenum National Park, 86.7 kilometers square in Bayelsa also. And then Falgore Game Reserve, which is now Falgore National Park, and that is 920 square kilometers in Kano. Hadeja Wetland Game Reserve, now Hadeja Wetland National Park, 320 square kilometers in Jigawa. And then Kampe Forest, which is Kampe National Park right now, and 652 square kilometers in Kwara State. And then the Kogo Forest Reserve, which is Kogo National Park, 212 kilometers squares in Katsina. And then Marbai Forest Reserve, which is now Marhai National Park and is 54 kilometers square in Nasarawa State. Oba Hill Forest Reserve is now Oba Hills National Park, and that is in Oshun, 52.5 kilometers squares. And finally, we have the Pandem Forest Reserve, which is Pandem National Park, and this is in Plateau, 244 square kilometers. To give credence and legal backing to this worthy cause, an executive bill will soon be presented to the National Assembly for further necessary action. It should be noted that the first national park in Nigeria, which is the Kayenji Lake, was created in 1979. This was followed by 6 other national parks spread across the country, and they are Kamuku National Park in Kaduna State, Kayenji Lake National Park in Niger and Kwara, Gashaka Gumti National Park in Adamawa and Taraba, Chad Basin National Park in Borno and Yobe State, and Okomu National Park in Edo State, Cross River National Park in Cross River State, while All Oyo National Park is in Oyo State. The creation of additional national parks in Nigeria has become imperative in view of the prevailing effect of climate change across the globe. This action is geared towards the United Nations policy of placing 25% of its member countries' landmass under permanent vegetation cover for carbon sequestration to mitigate the effect of climate change and ameliorate other ecological challenges. It may interest you to note that Nigeria currently has only 6.7% of her total landmass under vegetation cover, which is grossly inadequate in line with global best practices. The creation of these parks will no doubt further create more employment opportunities, alleviate poverty in rural areas, and ultimately enhance the country's revenue profile, especially now that Nigeria is seeking to diversify her economy. The 17 national parks cut across the ecological zones of the country, except the marine ecosystem. National parks are areas reserved and managed for conservation of wildlife and natural resources. The parks contain several rich and diverse varieties of rare endangered species like animals, like elephants, gorillas, giraffes, monkeys, golden cats, hippopotami, crocodiles, etc., and a host of special plant species. The functions of the National Park Service involve surveillance, patrolling, checking illegal activities of poachers in the parks, enforcement of relevant international treaties and conventions to which Nigeria is a signatory, public enlightenment on the protection and conservation of plants and animals, assisting researchers, and searching, arresting, and prosecuting offenders. Some of the benefits of national parks include the protection of life support systems, such as watersheds and water catchment areas. National parks have great potential for the development of research, particularly on agriculture, medicine, and biotechnology. They also serve as field laboratories for Nigerian universities and other tertiary institutions. The national parks are Nigeria's eco-treasure and have the potentials of contributing substantially to the national economy when fully developed, as obtains in East and Southern Africa. Gentlemen of the press, as we are very much aware, national security is crucial to protected areas. It is also regrettable that most state-owned forest reserves today have become dens of criminal activities. Therefore, in a bid to further add impetus to the current fight against insurgency, as well as other organized crimes such as kidnapping, cattle rustling, banditry, amongst others, the creation of these national parks will provide the much-needed apparatus to ward off criminal elements living or looking for hideouts in those areas. Gentlemen and ladies of the press, it is important at this juncture to note that in order to ensure maximum security and benefits of these national parks and enunciated above, Mr. President has also directed that Federal Minister of Environment, Agriculture and Rural Development, as well as that of Interior, should work together to ensure the attainment of the targets. Now let me turn to the issue at hand, the present issue at hand, that is the coronavirus pandemic. At this juncture, it is necessary that to remind ourselves that Nigeria is witnessing a resurgence of COVID-19 infection, going by the records of the Nigeria Center for Disease Control. This resurgence, the second wave as it is known, is hitting countries and territories with varying degree of impact. The Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 has been advocating to Nigerians to observe safety provisions in the protocol for coronavirus disease control in the country. In the wake of the resurgence, the Federal Minister of Environment has already begun terminal environmental decontamination disinfection of premises where COVID-19 cases have been recorded stemming out of requests from such quarters. We as a ministry are determined to continue to support the federal government's coordinated response to the pandemic. As previously done, the ministry is poised to once again render qualitative services. You will recall that the ministry, being one of the line COVID-19 response ministries, proactively mobilized the general public at the inception of the infections earlier this year towards understanding the nature, mode of spread and control measures. In the whole, maintenance of sterility of premises, containment, dwellings, offices is the main objective of the ministry's decontamination, disinfection intervention in order for their users to be safeguarded from letting the virus and other microbes into their systems. It is once more necessary to echo the need for Nigerian citizens to adhere strictly to the provisions of the COVID-19 control protocol as the main barrier of the virus spread. To this end, wearing of face masks, hand hygiene, respiratory hygiene, avoidance of crowd, physical distancing, as well as terminal and concurrent decontamination disinfection must continue to be adopted by all and sundry. It is my firm conviction that decontamination disinfection, as acclaimed by international standard, is contributing immensely to the containment of the spread of coronavirus in Nigeria. I would like to appeal to Nigerians to embrace the safe utilization of decontamination formulations and administration by engaging only licensed environmental health practitioners for decontamination and disinfection services as an efficient non-pharmaceutical corona control measures. Again, this backdrop, the Federal Minister of Environment is thanking Mr. President for his giant stride, which is targeted towards achieving wildlife conservation that is in tandem with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals and addressing internal security. We also appreciate the effort of the government in the fight against the spread of coronavirus in the country. It is our prayer and hope that this second wave of the pandemic will be promptly controlled effectively. Before I end, let me reiterate. Usually, even in the last 1918 pandemic, history has shown that the second wave, for whatever reasons, is usually more deadly and is beginning to look so now. I personally, just 3 days ago, my friend's nephew, just about 30-something years, died of the coronavirus. And as you have heard, it's not talking about poor or sophisticated, no, it's everyone. It's not disease coming from the outside anymore. Yes, the first one came from somewhere, but we are now spreading our own coronavirus. So it's going to get anybody. It doesn't matter whether you have ever traveled out of this country or not. Please and please, the press, we rely on you. The country, the people rely on you to tell them and tell them and tell them again. This time around, in the last 3 weeks, I'm sure you have heard, the biggest names either have died or are coming down with the disease. I don't even need to mention because you know a host of them. Whether in ministries or homes, in government houses, everywhere. This thing is deadly serious. Please and please, don't take it for granted. Some people might think, oh, yeah, some people get cured. But the game here is, you don't know whether you'll be one of those that will survive. So, do you want to play Russian roulette with your life? No. Please stick to the wearing of the mask, washing hands, avoiding crowd. Don't wait for anyone to tell you. Do it yourself. We must take individual responsibility. That is the only way. That is the only way. The most careful people have gotten infected. What about those that are not careful? So this is an appeal to Nigerians. Please tell the people it's serious. This can be worse than the previous one. You remember it was predicted in the past that they expected 5 million Africans to die or people be falling on the street. Well, it didn't happen. One, we have taken the proactive measures. God has saved us, our this, our that, so many. But let's not be complacent. Let's not be complacent. And finally, one appeal. Sometimes when people want to speak, like in a crowd, they pull their mask. It doesn't make sense. That is when you need to keep your mask, because it's when you are talking that you are producing the droplets, the micro droplets, the aerosols, whatever they are, and that's when they contain the virus. So even if you are not talking, if you are not wearing mask, once you come to talk, put it back so you can keep those droplets in there. And we thank you very much once again. God bless.
Thank you very much.
Or some kind of game reserves. Now, there's a difference between that. National parks have special attention and contain special species and are tailored that way. So we do know, as you can see, we have even the location and the square kilometer size of each of that, and in each of the state. So we know exactly where they are. It's a matter of just re-evaluating those reserves that we now name national parks and treat them, giving them the different kind of attention. There's slightly difference between the two classifications. So we do know where they are. The second question is about securing the forest, the risk. Yes, indeed. We do have forest rangers, park rangers. These are people that under the law have the right to arrest, to prosecute. The national park in particular is a paramilitary organization. They can carry light arms. But what we want to do really now is to equip them even more with the appropriate weaponry that will match the current situation, because you know what we are facing. So there is arrangement to improve the security of this forest and the parks. Someone talked about we don't have even enough staff as it is in the 7 national parks. Why are we creating 10? Well, we have approached Mr. President in that, and the federal government is willing and poised and ready to approve the increase in the staff, in the park rangers, and re-equipping the national parks. So that is something that is in the works. Indeed, we know that our rangers go through a lot of hardship, sometimes not just even from poachers or bandits, even the weather itself. It's harsh weather, whether it's sunshine, whether it's rain, all kinds of things. These are people that risk their lives to protect our eco-treasure, as we call it. And so based on that, we approached Mr. President. And he actually directed that the Ministry of Environment, Ministry of Agriculture, Rural Development, and Interior, which has a lot to do with security, to sit together and come up with a plan, strategy to improve the security and service delivery of the parks. And we have just done that. So the government is willing and ready. We, of course, told the government how our rangers are ill-equipped, need additional training to keep up with the time and everything. And that is really in the works. I can assure you very soon we'll come back and let you know that a lot of things have improved. And we must do it because we need to maintain the integrity of our environment, and also, most importantly, to protect the rangers themselves in delivering their own services to the people, to protect ourselves and our loved ones. Please, this is very, very important. Don't take it for granted. This is one of the most ferocious viruses ever, most infectious. The slightest exposure can mean the difference between life and death. Forget about the fact that some people are getting cured. Do you know if you will get cured, if you get infected? You don't know, and you will never know. The only thing is, don't try to find out, which means do everything humanly possible to not get infected.